All right, man. This one is my favorite. I struggle with this one, but it's my favorite. So, have you guys, I want you to picture this. And I learned this a long time ago, and this kind of like was real for me, right? Because as it relates to like real estate was the first business that I was really in. So I was a real estate investor, and then when I got into it from a business perspective, I've been full-time the whole time, right? I haven't had a job. So I recognized the difference between like the flip this house guy who's always hustling, always doing stuff, trying to fix a house, and he's hoping he's gonna get 10 houses a month. That ain't, I don't know, a whole bunch of dudes that do that. If you do, you got a huge system in place, which is what I love, systems. So think about it like this. Let's say you have an ATM, right? And every month, this thing kicks out 5K. Right? And somebody goes, hey man, every month this thing kicks out 15 grand. So I have 3 ATMs and I want 50K for them. Right? And you go, cool man, $50,000, not a lot of money. All right. So every month, $50,000, $5,000 comes out of each one of these ATMs. Yep. And you want 50K for all of them because you just want to be done with it. Yep. What do I have to do? Oh, well, shit, you don't have to do nothing. Just show up to the ATM and press a button and 5K comes out. Like, oh, wow. You see, most people don't look at their business like it could be an ATM because they don't systemize, right? Rich and successful real estate investors create systems that work for them towards they aren't needed. Broke real estate investors always set the game up to where they're needed because I don't know why, maybe they just feel like that's the way to do. They never find their groove. So what I want to suggest to you guys is that the success principle to create wealth and have success as a real estate investor, be an apartment building owner, and to be able to run an actual profitable business, because your goal is what? To be rich, to create success in a business, right? The $1 million secrets in this thing is to systemize your business so your business doesn't need you, that it works without you. Because what are you supposed to be doing? Marketing and buying deals. But the business still has to run itself. It still needs to, 1, generate money. 2, you need to have systems in place that continue to work without you. So the other thing it needs to do, what? Like we said, cut expenses. What's the system for that? What are you looking at every month, right? What's the gauge? The administration needs to have its own system. Your teams need to have their own systems so they run without you. So every month, what happens? Your business kicks off like the ATMs, 5K a month, 5K a month, 5K a month, like clockwork, right? So if it ever turns around where you need to sell, people are buying a system. They're not buying a bunch of properties. Nobody wants a bunch of properties. So prime example. We sold a business, we sold a building outside of our business, right? So we had an apartment building. We had it for a while. I have a system that sets up our apartment buildings to go, cool, once we get them, I know what's getting ready to happen. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. There's a system in place. At the end of that system, usually takes about 3 years or so to stabilize it. Well, first year to build the system. Next year, stabilization. Next year, stabilize. That's 3 years. Now, we can go to the bank. We can refinance. We can pull out our initial investment. We can pull out some of the money that we made, and we can leapfrog into another deal, right? That's the system. Problem that we had was somebody came and thought that Victor was a goober and that they can do what I do better. So when they bought the business, they bought the building, and then they changed the system. And then the system went down, the building went down, and I don't know what they're doing now. Not my problem. But you see why it's so important to have a system in place. Now, you know that you need a system for marketing. Right? What is it? What is a system? A system is something that brings a predictable result over and over again without you, right? So some systems are you. I get it. Depending on where you are in the game. I call people. I like that part. So I love the system, but I have a system to do it. I have a script. I have numbers that I know that I'm going to call. I have specific properties that I'm calling about. I have a systemized way to do my job that brings a predictable result every time. The business that we set up, U.S. commercial has to be run by a system because no one's going to buy a business or pay for it if they still got to do the work. What they're buying is your system. And if you have a generalized system that works over and over and over again, like the ATMs, boom, you buy an ATM. Bam, you buy an ATM. Bam, you're buying an ATM. All of these things make absolute total sense, right? So who needs a system? You need a system. Your teams individually need systems. How do you do that? You find out what works one time. You write it down as your policies and procedures. One time. If someone comes in, you give them the policies and procedures, because that's the system. Your business is all run on the system. Because how do you want? You'd rather have this conversation like, yup, if you pay me 50 grand for my 3 ATMs that run like clockwork, with and without me, I have a team in place, right? You make it happen. The biggest challenge that most people have is they want everyone to fall in love with them, right? I found in my businesses, I'd rather you fall in love with my team than to fall in love with me. Because usually if I sell the business, my team will end up going with it. I know they're going to be taken care of, whatever the case may be. Just like when you sell a building, your tenants are going with them, right? Your systems are going with them. Your management systems are going with them. Your repairs and maintenance systems are going with them. Like, all of those things have to go with the building. Everything goes with them, right? But if they love you, then they ask people. Like, people ask me, like, oh, if we buy this building, are you coming with it? Like, can we hire you? Or you're like, no, dude, that's why I'm selling. Why are you selling? Like, because I have bigger shit I want to do. I built this system so you can buy it. I did the heavy lifting, right? I created it. So, biggest thing you can do, the distinction between rich and successful real estate investors, guys who buy apartment buildings, run it as a business, a ton of apartment buildings, thousands of units, they have a housing, right? The overall business is a system. Their system, they put people in place, they help run that business. They're the leaders, and they make sure that those systems continue to run. They're constantly tweaking the system, tightening up the bolts, making sure shit's going. That's your job. Say, that's my job. That's their job. To do what? To create a system. So, the definition of a system is something that works without you. Rich and successful real estate investors create systems, while broke and poor real estate investors don't. Simple as that. Like it doesn't even make sense to make up anything else. Remember, initially you're going to be the system, right? Then you have to create systems for your teams. You can't create a system for your team, like we said on the last one, if they don't know